Hi and good evening. Thank you for watching. I'm Shakil 5858. I am Amibuddham. Now the latest headlines from world channels and news agencies.
Purported leak.
Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air from Washington, D.C. President Donald Trump returns to the White House, promising a golden age of America. The president immediately launching his agenda, vowing sweeping changes on immigration and the border, and promising action regarding hundreds of January 6th defendants. Tonight, the inauguration of President Donald Trump.
So help me God.
America and the world witnessing President Trump taking the oath of office for a second time. The cornerstone of democracy today, a peaceful transfer of power. Dangerously cold weather moving the inauguration indoors for the first time since Ronald Reagan in 1985. Extraordinary images unfolding throughout the day here. And then the welcome at the White House. The Bidens reaching out to the Trumps. Biden telling Trump, welcome home. President Trump delivering his inaugural address to the nation, saying he wants to be a peacemaker and unifier, and promising to completely and totally reverse the work of the Biden administration, with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris sitting right next to him. And after 5 decades in politics, President Biden tonight leaving Washington for the last time. The moving moment flying over Washington, the Capitol, and the White House one final time. President Trump wasting no time setting the tone for his next 4 years in office, his plans to sign at least 100 executive actions, declaring a national emergency at the southern border tonight. ABC News has learned he plans to issue sweeping pardons for prisoners convicted in the January 6th attack on the Capitol, what we've learned tonight. Meantime, in his final hours in office today, President Biden issuing last-minute pardons to Dr. Anthony Fauci, retired General Mark Milley, former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, and members of the House committee who investigated January 6th. President Biden saying they did nothing wrong, but that he still wanted to protect them. Our team spread out tonight across the country for this historic night. Also on this Monday evening, the dangerous winter storm and brutal cold from the Rockies to the deep south and all the way up into the Northeast. Tonight, states of emergency in places, the major pileup on I-96 in Michigan. Wind chills below zero into the single digits. And on this day, Americans across the nation pause to honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and what President Trump said today about his inauguration falling on this day.
From ABC News, this is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir, reporting tonight from Washington.
Tonight, our special coverage from Washington, the inauguration of Donald Trump as the 47th President of the United States. The historic day at our nation's capital, Donald Trump taking the oath of office for a second time. His address to the nation vowing to usher in a golden age of America. Before a crowd of supporters, the new president signing multiple sweeping executive orders. His plans for border security, gender, and rolling back climate change initiatives. Today's ceremony moved inside for the first time in 40 years due to the brutal cold. Mr. Trump capping off unprecedented political comeback after 2 impeachments, 34 felony convictions, and 2 assassination attempts. And the moment earlier at the White House, the 2 former rivals coming together, even as President Trump vows to undo Joe Biden's legacy. Our full coverage from Washington. And late tonight, President Trump announcing he will issue pardons for the January 6th rioters. And Joe Biden, in his final moments in office, issuing several last-minute pardons of his own. The reaction tonight. Also tonight, the dangerous cold gripping much of the nation and the rare winter storm on the move tonight in the South. Our special edition of Nightly News begins now.
This is NBC Nightly News, the inauguration of President Donald Trump. Reporting from Washington, D.C., here is Lester Holt.
Good evening and welcome.
Mr. President, do you have any reactions to the pardons that President Biden did at the last minute?
Well, I'm not going to discuss it now. I think it was unfortunate that he did that. We won't discuss it now. There's plenty of time to discuss it.
At 11:41 today, Judge, Joe Biden
pardoned many of his family members, preemptive pardons. This is in addition to all the other pardons he had done around 11 a.m. And it's my contention, my belief that President Trump didn't know about these because they announced them after he had already walked into the rotunda. And it is quite brazen. And I think Democrats are going to have a hard time answering it. So let's start with you, and then we'll see how Harold does.
Well, it's very interesting, and yet to me it was stunning, although there's certainly been rumors about this, that Joe Biden decides that he's going to pardon pretty much all of his family, you know, the members, Harold, of the Biden crime syndicate, his brother Joe and his son, and I think some in-laws, Mark Milley, Anthony Fauci, preemptive pardon. Meaning they aren't charged with anything, but we're going to tie the hands of the next Attorney General to make sure that she, does not indict anyone. But I think what's so stunning is that the justification for this, Dana, where the statement from the Biden White House was, these people do not deserve to be targets of unjustified and politically motivated prosecutions. Talk about the pot calling the kettle black. The only people who have been victims of unjustified and politically motivated prosecutions are the Republicans who have suffered at the hands of a weaponized Biden Justice Department. And they then add that these pardons shouldn't be mistaken as an acknowledgement that they've engaged in any wrongdoing. And yet the same Biden administration is objecting to any pardoning of the J6 hostages by saying that, well, if Trump gives them a pardon, it's got to be an admission of guilt. I mean, it's typical hypocrisy that and I'm sure most of America will be happy to get rid of going forward because we don't have to deal with that hypocrisy anymore. But the shame of this is that it is a recognition that that there is and was a possibility of, based on James Comer alone, there was enough evidence to indict based upon what he uncovered, but James Comer didn't have access to Merrick Garland's.
Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution of the United States. So help me God. So help me God. Congratulations, Mr.
Donald Trump's triumphant return to the White House this Monday night.
We will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense.
His pledges and promises to transform America. Canada dodges Trump's tariffs for now.
Make no mistake about it. He's coming for us.
Donald Trump fulfills his election promises, signing a swathe of executive orders in his first hours back in the White House. The Prime Minister calls a national cabinet meeting on anti-Semitism following an attack on a Sydney childcare centre. Aid pours into Gaza during the ceasefire, but doctors are still waiting for vital medical supplies. And the Demon and the Sinner, Alex de Minaur, to take on the Australian Open's reigning champ in the quarterfinals. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Joe O'Brien. Donald Trump.
Hello and a very warm welcome to you. You're watching Daybreak here on France 24. These are the headlines. Promising to be a president for peace, but also saying he will retake control of the Panama Canal, Donald Trump ushers in what he is calling a golden era for America. Pardoning the January 6th rioters on Capitol Hill, Trump also signed a raft of executive orders, including withdrawing the US from the Paris Climate Agreement declaring a national emergency on the US-Mexican border and scrapping decrees that protected the rights of minorities. Meanwhile, the second day of a ceasefire in Gaza holds, with more UN aid trucks able to get into the territory as people there try to turn towards rebuilding their shattered lives. Promising to be a president for peace, but also saying he would retake control of the Panama Canal, US President Donald Trump begins his second term in office by signing a raft of executive orders that include declaring the migration on the Mexican border a national emergency, taking
Hello, this is Sky News. It's 5 a.m. here in the UK. These are your latest headlines.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
The oath of power for the world's most powerful politician as the incoming president makes clear how he plans to wield it.
America's decline is over. I was saved by God to make America great again.
The public demonstration of his presidential power, signing orders to declare national emergencies over America's borders, energy, and much more. The world's richest man joins these celebrations, as well as many of America's most powerful tech and business leaders. And for the defeated Democrats, defiance from the departing Joe Biden, but unconcealed contempt from Hillary Clinton. Hello and a very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us here on Sky News. Donald Trump is
This is DW News, and these are our top stories. U.S. President Donald Trump has begun signing executive orders on his first day in office. Just hours after being sworn in, Trump pardoned rioters who took part in the January 6th attack and pulled the United States out of the Paris Climate Accord for a second time. Earlier in his inauguration speech delivered indoors in the Capitol building, Trump promised a new golden age for America. He again pledged a crackdown on illegal immigration and to tackle America's trade deficit and high inflation. Trump is only the second U.S. president to be elected to non-consecutive terms. Palestinians in Gaza have been returning to their homes as the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas seems to be holding. Many Gazans are discovering their homes lie in ruins, but are vowing to stay. Aid organizations say it will take many years just to clear the rubble. This is DW News from Berlin. You can find much more on our website. That's dw.com.
Josh, thank you. Good evening. Your headlines from the GB Newsroom. The Prime Minister will address the nation tomorrow morning after the government announced an inquiry into how the state failed to identify the risk posed by the Southport killer. It comes as the 18-year-old accused of killing 3 young girls in the Southport stabbing spree has today admitted to the attack on the first day of his trial. Axel Rudacabana pleaded guilty to the murders of 9-year-old Alice da Silva Aguirre, 6-year-old BB King and 7-year-old Elsie Stanku. He will be sentenced on Thursday after pleading guilty to additional charges of possessing a knife, producing a biological toxin ricin and owning a terrorist training manual. Donald Trump has said, "I was saved by God to make America great again," after being sworn in as the 47th President of the United States. Following the oath of office, Trump addressed the nation, saying the golden age of America begins right now. Trump made promises on illegal entry, race and gender.
All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life. We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based. As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders.
Meanwhile, Joe Biden used his final minutes of presidency to pardon members of his family. He already pardoned his son Hunter last month ahead of his sentencing on federal felony gun and tax convictions. He also issued preemptive pardons for public servants previously threatened by Trump and other Republican officials. In other news, the fragile ceasefire in Gaza is ending its second day, with 3 hostages reunited with their families, including British-Israeli Emily Damari. Her mother, Mandy, says her daughter is the happiest girl in the world after 15 months in captivity came to an end, and described their reunion as the hug she'd dreamed of. She says Emily is recovering better than expected, but needs time to heal. And 3 more people have been charged over Saturday's pro-Palestinian protest in central London that saw 77 arrests. Thousands gathered in the city to express support for Palestinians the day before a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas came into force. Former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn and MP John McDonnell have also been voluntarily interviewed by police after the demonstration. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's time for Headliners.
Updating this hour's top stories, newly inaugurated U.S. President Donald Trump hits the ground running as he takes office for the second time. He has signed executive orders on TikTok, the border, as well as to withdraw from the WHO and Paris Climate Accord. World leaders are closely watching Mr. Trump's first flood of orders as Asian countries vow to work with the new administration and strengthen ties. And detained South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol expected to attend a hearing for his impeachment trial, making his first appearance at the Constitutional Court. U.S. President Donald Trump moving swiftly on his first day, signing a raft of executive orders within hours of taking office. His action includes
a series of damning accusations from Amnesty International against M23 rebels in eastern DRC and the Congolese army. The rights group has stated that both the Rwandan-backed armed group and the country's army have been using explosive weapons in densely populated areas. Tanzania's President Samia Suluhu Hassan has her sights set on another term in office, months ahead of the general elections. The country's ruling party has nominated her as its candidate for the position. The 64-year-old took office in 2021, following the sudden death of John Magufuli, who was accused of curbing certain freedoms and of stamping out dissent. Initially, she was hailed for easing restrictions Magufuli had implemented on the opposition and the media. However, rights groups and Western governments have since denounced what they view as renewed repression of the opposition.
A new era for a transatlantic relationship. With Donald Trump having taken office for his second term as President of the United States on Monday, the UK's Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, commented on the outlook of working with Trump over the next years.
We look forward to working with Donald Trump at this tough geopolitical moment, recognising that 77 million people voted for Donald Trump. He got more votes from young people, African Americans, Latinos than the Republican Party have got for some considerable time. We have a special relationship with the United States. It doesn't matter who's in the White House or number 10, and we look forward to working with Donald Trump over the next 4 years.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer congratulated Trump ahead of the inauguration and underlined the special relationship between the US and the UK in his statement. Lammy suggested that Starmer could visit Trump in Washington within weeks. Only 12 hours after its ban in the United States, the popular social media platform TikTok returned to users' phones on Sunday. The app said in a statement published on X that it was in the process of restoring its service and thanked President-elect Donald Trump for his intervention. Both the app and website are now working again. Trump, who is set to take office for his second presidency on Monday, said that he would issue an executive order to delay the ban of the short video sharing platform. TikTok was set to go dark following a bill signed by President Joe Biden in April 2024 that urged TikTok's China-based parent company ByteDance to sell the app to a non-Chinese company. Otherwise, the platform would be banned in the US from 19th of January 2025 onwards. The app had around 150 million active users in the US in 2023.
Global growth is expected to improve slightly this year, with the International Monetary Fund raising its forecast by 0.1 of a percentage point. In its latest World Economic Outlook, it says it expects global growth to reach 3.3% this year and to remain at this level in 2026. The growth outlook for emerging market economies remains stable, with the IMF expecting growth in sub-Saharan Africa to pick up to 4.2% this year, and it forecasts that global inflation will continue decelerating. The IMF has, however, revised world trade volume estimates slightly downwards for both years due to a sharp increase in trade policy uncertainty. It warned that an intensification of protectionist policies in the form of a new wave of tariffs could exacerbate trade tensions, lower investments, and disrupt supply chains. Its latest forecast comes days before the inauguration of US President-elect Donald Trump, who's proposed a 10% tariff on global imports.
Thank you for sparing your precious time. This is Amir Shakil. Have a good life. Bye-bye.